fuel subsidy removal in Nigeria has continued to generate reactions among Nigerians. The subsidy removal, while a tough pill to swallow for the citizens, aims to free up much-needed funds like crucial investment. Like I introduced earlier, I had an exclusive chat with a special advisor to the President of Media and Publicity, Mr. Jurin Galale, on the planned recovery plan of the federal government. He started by explaining to me efforts made by the fiscal side of government to complement the monetary side, which seems to be doing a lot on the currency and foreign exchange management. I take a listen.
We have to handle the recovery of the economy from the doldrums it had been in a very surgical way. I think the benefit we have in having His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as president at this time, with his experience as an auditor and a professional accountant, is such that we can intervene in a way that will not inflame inflation within the economy. We can intervene in a way that will ensure that we don't simply, deconstruct the house because there's a fire in one bedroom. I think for us, we are focused on making interventions that are measured, that are calculated, that are surgical, one of which is ensuring that our micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises have the resources they need in an immediate fashion. This is going to be something that cuts across every single part of this country. I'll give you an example. Within our MSME interventions, we have the Presidential Grant Scheme. Grant, of course, meaning funds that will be distributed but will not be repaid by those who benefit and receive these grants. How it will work under the Presidential Grant Scheme is we will go across all 774 local government areas of the Federation, identify 1,000 micro and small enterprises within each of the 774 local governments, and then we will grant them or give them 50,000 naira MSME uplift grant to ensure that these MSMEs are not shuttering at a time when families need these MSMEs to be open more than ever. I think that's on one hand. On the other hand, the president, beyond grants, is ensuring that we get loans into the hands of not just our enterprises, but also at large-scale industry, not just small enterprises, but large industrial facilities. How we're going to do that is we have about 350 billion that we've set aside for single-digit interest rate loans to micro and small enterprises of up to 1 million naira, in addition to a large scope of intervention that we've set aside for a large-scale industry. These are obviously manufacturers and industries that are employing up to 500, 1,000 employees. We're going to be giving them single-digit interest rate loans of up to 1 billion naira. That is for 75 major large industries in this country. This is the direct kind of intervention Mr. President is putting in place. And of course, it's no secret that Mr. President has put in place conditional cash transfers to vulnerable households across the Federation. That is 12 million households across all local government areas of the Federation, making sure that we can get 25,000 naira on a monthly basis over the course of several months to 12 million families across the country. I think when you look at the fiscal side of the economy, not just kind of monetary policy and making sure that interest rates are where they need to be, making sure that the banking industry has the support that it must have in order to get lending into the hands of Nigerians. We are also making these direct interventions through SMEDAN, that is the Small and Medium Scale Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, and then of course through the Bank of Industry. So that is going on right now, in addition to several other initiatives of the president, making sure that we have unemployment insurance for unemployed graduates out of our universities. That's a major focal point of Mr. President. He mentioned it just the other day when he launched the agricultural mechanization program of the Niger state government. So there are a lot of interventions that are being made on the fiscal side, but they're being made in a way that will ensure that we do not inflame the present inflationary concerns within the economy. And I think the last point I want to mention on this is we must recall that with the removal of the fuel subsidy, one of the major aspects of the president's intervention was ensuring that our federal workers, for example, have wage awards. That is money that is beyond their salary, that we are paying an additional 35,000 naira per worker to ensure that we deal with the impact of the devaluation of the currency and the impact of rising energy costs and rising food costs across the country. The president just implored the state governors to do the same, that they have no excuse not to, in view of the fact that the president has dramatically raised the allocations that are being given by the federal government to the states in view of the freed up resources that were freed up by the removal of the fuel subsidy. There's no excuse for our state governments not to be able to pay a wage award to workers across our states when we're doing the same at the federal level in view of the expanded resource base that they now have with the provisions provided by the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
One thing is movement of people from place to place. That's talking transportation. And we've been talking about the CNG-powered buses and all of that, how we move away from fuel and all of that. How far have we also gone with regards to that? Are we really adopting this new move? That's the new way to go.
Absolutely. So the president, of course, directed the purchase of 100 CNG fueled buses, and obviously we have ongoing agreements with filling stations such as NIPCO and others across the country who already have branches across the country, filling stations across all states of the Federation where we can co-locate these CNG fill-up points at these filling stations so that you have, yes, you deal with the demand issue by ensuring that you have your CNG buses and that you have the mode of transit from traditional PMS to CNG. That is with these CNG, fitting facilities that we are providing to, commuters and, bus transport companies across the country. But if you do that, if you supply these CNG transit kits, to refit their vehicles, and you don't have the supply side sorted out, ensuring that you have a retail industry that has the CNG architecture and infrastructure required to, fill up these new CNG vehicles, then you're not going to do much good. So the focus is, the president's focus is making sure that we are joining, the CNG outfitting program that we're currently implementing to the CNG supply side, making sure that filling stations, including the NNPC, are able to bring in CNG fill-up points. And obviously, it's not just a matter of having a fill-up point in a filling station. You obviously have an entire value chain that has to be fitted into that with respect to the movements of CNG from its production and processing point to the point where it's being distributed via tanks in storage trucks across the country. So this is an ongoing effort. The president's not relenting. We're doubling down and we're making sure that we get new private sector players to the table to widen the scope of CNG availability across the country. But obviously that's going to be a major aspect of our intervention with respect to how we can minimize the impact of rising energy costs on Nigerian families nationwide.
Let's talk about attracting investments. Yes, everyone knows that President Tinubu has been to so many countries, and the message is always straight. Nigeria is open for investment. But how opened is Nigeria for investment in your thoughts? Looking at corruption, looking at bureaucracy and all of that. How do we check all of this and make sure that these investors can come in, run their businesses, make profits, pay royalties, taxes, and all of that, and don't have any issues in any form? How are we following it to the latter?
It's a great question. I think the proof is in the pudding on this. And what I mean by that is when Mr. President, for example, flagged off the agricultural mechanization program in Niger State, you would have heard the governor of Niger State, Governor Umar Bago, stating very clearly in front of everyone in attendance and the media present that the multi-billion dollars worth of MOUs that his state government had signed with agricultural production industries abroad were the direct result of the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu going to the G20, going to the Middle East, making sure that we have these collaborative and cooperative agreements in place binationally, but furthermore, making sure that, as president, the president is linking the subnational governments with the officials of these foreign governments, as well as with these foreign businesses. So the president is actively and intentionally creating these points of linkage, not just between the federal ministries and foreign business leaders, but also between subnational governments, state governments across our country with foreign business leaders. And the launch of thousands of tractors just the other day in Niger was an example of what can be done in terms of what can be achieved with tangible deliverables from the president's active outreach, to international business when he goes on these foreign trips abroad. We are now starting to see these deliverables in the country. So that's going to cut across sectors. Yes, of course, I've mentioned agriculture, but that has to do with steel production. That has to do with solar panel production. That has to do with the establishment of bitumen processing factories and so many other industries that will be impacted with respect to even the introduction or reintroduction of Volkswagen into the country over the course of the next few months. These are active and these are, very present results of His Excellency Mr. President's outreach, and I think Nigerians can only expect more from this president moving forward.
Well, let's go back to the oil and gas industry, which I must say, yes, we saw something last week too, an executive order. All is to just attract more investment into that. Well, I'd like you to speak around that. I also like you to speak to the issue of refining. We've heard of shipments coming to Dangote refinery, and what we are expecting as Nigerians is production. And we should start to see how PMS comes from that end. And also the Port Harcourt refinery, which the NNPC says is about 80 or 90% complete. What do you think this will bring to the fore regards the forex dependence and all that we've been doing with the importing of petroleum products? Do you see this helping us reduce that? So it's a two-in-one question.
Absolutely, absolutely. The presidential executive order signed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on the reforms in the oil and gas industry are effectively a well-considered conglomeration of quick-win solutions. The president has been actively negotiating with and consulting with global oil and gas executives. I mean, these are the chairman and CEOs of, all of the major international oil companies that you can think of. And he is getting a top-level view from them as to what is driving their investments decisions with respect to the decision that they make between the Federal Republic of Nigeria and other African oil producers. And he is finding out in his consultations with them what the sticking points are. Why Guyana, for example, rather than Nigeria in some aspects of the oil business? What is it that makes their investment environment more attractive in the oil and gas space than ours? And making sure that we rectify whatever bottlenecks or encumbrances exist in that process of consultation. Now, in listening to them, he has been able to turn those discussions not just as a talking shop, but into tangible deliverables to say, hey, I'm listening to you as president, and I am implementing those corrective measures that you have requested of me to ensure that those investments decisions are being taken in Nigeria and not any other country. And he's been able to do that. And I believe Nigerians are obviously going to receive the massive benefit that will accrue as a result of those proactive measures he's taken. But now, with that said, I think Nigerians have a lot to expect with respect to indigenous refining. Let's be clear. Before the end of this year, the Dangote refinery would have been fully on stream. I mean, right now it's already up and running. But obviously, as you know, when you have a new refinery coming up, there is a months-long process of startup until you get to the process of full production. Not only have they received shipments of Nigerian crude, they're also receiving shipments of American crude, for example. So they are getting up and ready and running. But in addition to that, you have 650,000 barrels per day being produced in the Dangote refinery. 20% of the Dangote refinery is owned by the Nigerian government through the NNPCL. So we're going to be getting a 20% share of all profits that will be accruing to the Dangote refinery in US dollars, which is going to be great for the future of the Nigerian economy and the Nigerian public sector to be able to produce the kind of infrastructure and make the kind of investments it needs to make in making our investment climate even more attractive moving forward. But in addition to that, you would recall that we presently have, under the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari and now under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we are seeing the full restoration of the state-owned refineries at Port Harcourt, 200,000 barrels per day, that will be totally completed. Phase one is already completed, 60,000 barrels. The second phase will be completed by the first quarter of next year, which is an additional 150,000 barrels. So you're looking at 200,000 barrels per day capacity coming out of the Port Harcourt refinery. Already we have the Warri refinery and the Kaduna refinery that will be producing essentially 200,000 or 205,000 barrels per day additional capacity, 100% owned by the Nigerian government through the NNPCL, joining with the 200,000 barrels per day from Port Harcourt. So you basically have, in essence, 400,000 barrels per day refining capacity fully owned by the Nigerian people that will be in operation by the first quarter of next year. But the key is, because you have 650,000 barrels coming from Dangote, and aggregate national demand of refined PMS is approximately the equivalent of 450,000 barrels per day. What it now means is you will have a surplus within Dangote alone of 200,000 barrels per day to join with the 400,000 barrels per day that will be produced by the Nigerian-owned petroleum PMS refineries, that will ensure that you essentially have 600,000 barrels per day surplus that we can now as a nation be exporting to our regional counterparts across the African continent, earning US dollars in the process. So on the one hand, when we talk about monetary and we talk about the fiscal side, how are we going to rapidly increase our foreign exchange liquidity? This is a major part of that answer. Because right now we have a forex crunch because we're currently paying out hundreds of millions of dollars into the billions of dollars for refined PMS that we're refining in foreign refineries, and we're paying hundreds of millions of dollars shipping that foreign refined PMS to Nigeria's shores. With these working refineries, not only do you stop the expenditure of this foreign exchange right into the billions, but now you are now adding the accruals of new foreign exchange earnings from the export of surplus PMS produced in country by the first quarter of next year. This is going to be the way in which this is going to be the means by which, rather, we are going to be able to fund the new consumer credit system, that we're going to be able to fund this new student loan program, we're going to be able to fund the new unemployment insurance for unemployed Nigerians, Nigerian young people. It is all going to be because of the fact that we have been able to transform our foreign exchange liquidity picture as a result of the turnaround, the total rehabilitation of these refineries. And we have the previous administration of President Muhammadu Buhari to thank, in addition to the concrete actions being taken by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu presently. Nigeria has a lot to look forward to over the course of the next 12 to 16 months. What we are asking our people consistently is to be patient with us, to bear with us. We know times are tough, but we are determined to ensure that our people are carried along in understanding that tough times don't last, tough people do. Nigerians are tough, and we have a bright future ahead of us.
Let's wrap up. Can we do this in 2 minutes? What more should the youth be expecting now, particularly youth? You just touched on the student loan. What more should they be expecting from government? Moving on.
Young people in Nigeria have a lot to look forward to. Let me be clear. With the inception of the Nigerian consumer credit system, you are going to have a total unlocking of automobile production in the country and housing production, housing unit construction in the country. That is going to equate to a minimum of 2 million jobs over the course of the next 4 years in terms of having a steady supply of housing being constructed across all local government areas of the Federation in a way that is supported by a consumer credit system that essentially is going to create a pool of demand of millions of Nigerians who want homes, who have always wanted homes, but have not had the financing to be able to offtake the homes from those who are developing and constructing them. The consumer credit system essentially allows Nigerian families to pay a reasonable amount of money on a monthly basis, installmentally, within the ambit of their legitimate incomes, to have rent-to-own arrangements with not just housing, but also with automobiles, so that they can, be freed from the pressure of having to pay a year of rent up front in cash, or having to pay for a Tukumbo vehicle or a new car up front in cash. Consumer credit system saves them from that burden, allows them to pay a monthly, pay down on a facility on a monthly basis, but you're also unlocking these jobs for Nigerians.
Interesting way to live it. I must thank you so much for your time, especially advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Mr. Ajuri Ngalale. We hope to have you join us subsequently to do an assessment of all of this and see how it all plays out. Thank you so much. Do enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much.